Okay, as that happens, this is the last panel before lunch. Well, it's more of a fireside chat, so a conversation amongst great colleagues regarding securing water for climate-resilient futures. And that I would like to call upon Dr. José Marengo from Cemaden, if you could come up to the stage, and then if you would introduce your two panelists that will be participating in this conversation. Thank you very much, Dr. José, and all the best. Let's give him a warm hand of applause. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome to this panel. My name is José Marengo. I'm a climate scientist from São Paulo, in Brazil. So I will call for this table Kristin Hughes, Senior Vice President and Global Head of Sustainability from Diageo. Kristin? Oh, thank you. Sorry. And Andrea Mota, Sustainability Vice President from Coca-Cola. Yep, so we have only 20 minutes. We have penalized for this. Well, thank you. Well, we will start. Bueno, tengo mi cola aquí. Well, thank you very much. So just to start, I'd like to frame some questions, the main framework of this. Water is not just a sectorial issue. It is in the bloodstream of climate resilience. Without it, no adaptation or mitigation strategy can endure. Let's begin by exploring how science, technology, and stewardship can together secure water for a changing climate. So we have a couple of questions. Yeah, they gave 5 minutes more. So I think we have several questions, but we have two maybe which are important, so both of our panelists can discuss it. The first one will go to Kristin. Diageo has worked in water-scarce regions around the world. How has the way that you think about water changed, from managing efficiency in factories, for example, to restoring entire watersheds and working with local communities?
Great, thank you, José. And you gave part of the answer away right there, which I appreciate. Again, I'm Kristin with Diageo, and for those of you who don't know who Diageo are, we are a global spirits and beer manufacturer. Hopefully you had a chance to partake in some of our cocktails last night, and again, I think this evening as well. So please do engage and enjoy responsibly, of course. To the question though, for Diageo, water is by far our most important ingredient. We know that it is also very scarce and a shared asset, one we share in watersheds with Coca-Cola. It goes into every single product that we make, and it's used to produce the grains, the agave and the sugar cane that we use to then produce the final product in the cachaça, the tequila, and the Baileys. So it is very, very critical that we understand the raw material impacts as well as the water impacts across our global watersheds. And of course, water is also very local. So we are looking at the water that we use here in Brazil, again, in making the Ipioca in Fortaleza, and we're working very much to reduce the amount of water that goes into each of the products. So driving efficiency through the distillery, the factory, whether that's reusing water, recycling water, but also finding new technologies like sensors that help us identify leaks, for instance, or reverse osmosis. It's a fantastic statistic that Ipioca now use less than 1 liter of water for 1 liter of Ipioca that's produced. So when you enjoy that cachaça this evening, you know that you're enjoying a sustainable drink. And I really think it's beautiful that we're working both in our own distilleries to reduce the impact, but also then we're looking to give back as much as we use. And so throughout the watersheds around the world, in particular to your point on water-stressed areas, whether that be in Kenya, in India, in Mexico, we're looking to replenish up and give back at least as much as we use. And again, in a lot of those watersheds, we're working in partnerships with NGOs like TNC, WWF, and then other corporates like Coca-Cola, and even some of our competitors like Ambev and Heineken. So it's a very collective approach, how we try to improve both our water use internally with innovations, but then also externally in the watershed with the communities to support the overarching objective to use less water than we, to replenish more water than we use.
Thank you. On a personal side, I'm very excited to be here because I'm a climate scientist. So I basically work with the hydrological cycle, but I'm really amazed at the ways how the hydrological cycle is used for you, because the water that we study, how it comes, how it evaporates, is used, and how it's working in the way that business and companies work with that. Really. Well, let's go to Andrea. Coca-Cola has indeed incorporated water stewardship into its sustainability approach. What are the major lessons learned from your basin restoration and replenishment projects, especially in the context of Latin America's shifting climate?
Yes, and thank you, Professor, for the question. It's a pleasure to be here with my colleague, Kristin. Thank you so much. Yes, for Coca-Cola, water is as well one of the most important pillars in our sustainability strategy for obvious reasons. Without water, there's no beverage industry, and without water, there's no development for the communities we serve. So it's really, that's why we have a very comprehensive water strategy based on 3 pillars. First, being more efficient in our operations. This is our obligations, but we need to go beyond. Where we do projects to replenish the water we use in our beverage and turn back to the nature. But we also need to take care of the community, so we also invest in projects to provide safe access to water to the communities, especially around our facilities. And we've been working with water for many decades, and I would say that the 3 main learnings. The first one is, I love to say that water is the most local global challenge that we have. It's a global issue, but the solution is hyper-local. So we learned that, and that's why we work with very local organizations that know the terrain, that know the communities, know the situation, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. So we need to understand the context and understand how we're going to approach, if it's in Peru, we are talking about that, or if it's in Brazil or Mexico, the solution is different and based on the local context. The second learning is all about measurement. We need to make sure that we can measure every project and have transparency and report the data, because we have public commitments regarding replenishment. So we work with global organizations using a validated methodology to have those numbers, to validate the water volumetric numbers. So having this measurement in place is super critical. And finally, I would say the last learning is partner to innovate. We need to really innovate. Although we have some projects in conservation, replenishment, a lot of nature-based solution, we are also having part of our budget committed to learn, to test new technologies. So we have like a project in Chile with NILUS, a climate tech organization that work building artificial glaciers during the rain season. So we kind of put this water in like glaciares, and during the dry season, this water goes to the community. So we are learning a lot. It's a very different approach. So those type of tests and pilots, we really love to learn. So innovation is also critical and a big learning.
Can I build on that a little bit? Because what I love about the innovation and the use, like you said, I love it's a global problem with local solutions. And all of the places where we're also partnering, but we have very, very different solutions everywhere we go. And the panel before us was talking about those nature-based solutions. And you look at some areas where we're planting seeds along a riverbank that allows then to stops erosion, stops some of the polluting from going into the river. So we're cleaning the water to make it easier for access. In other places, we're almost practically building a well and connecting pipes into the community so that both farmers and others in the community have access both to reusable water, but then also to clean, potable water. And then even other places, again in Fortaleza, where we're putting water directly into schools through filtration systems that allows then the children in the schools. So all these different innovations that we have to think about. And innovation is not always technology. It's sometimes, again, these nature-based innovations that, again, multiple speakers ago we heard about. So many people have been doing this locally for hundreds of years. So even we can reinvent some of the innovations and learn from some of those locally who are already doing it really well.
Thank you very much. This actually, your comments fall into what was discussed in the COP, adaptation to reach resilience. This goes in the same way. I'm extremely happy about that. I think we have time for 2 more questions. Do you? Okay, let's go. We got excited now. So the next one is to Kristin. New technology is changing how we measure and manage water. What might Diageo be doing with digital monitoring, satellite data, or artificial intelligence tools to forecast expectation of shortage and better decision-making across high-risk basins?
Well, I think Andrea already also talked a little bit about that in the second pillar of Coca-Cola. For us as well, and I think, again, it was maybe 1 or 2 panels ago, we talk about if something's not measured, we might not take action on it. So we need to really understand what the situation is today and then utilize technology then to ensure that we are progressing towards the right goal. Being at COP this week, I've seen so many different geospatial technologies coming about, and I think there's still a massive opportunity for us to play and experiment and see what we might be able to use for additional monitoring. So we have systems in place. We work with WRI to help us analyze all of our sites to understand if they are water stressed. At Diageo, we have a commitment to to reduce our water in our operations by 30%, but in water-stressed areas, it's 40%. So we run this analysis every 2 years, and we use those technologies to measure, and then we know if a new place is now water-stressed, we have to think a little bit differently about how we engage and the water replenishment targets that we set and then how we go about that. So I think that what I'm seeing is really exciting in the conversations that I've heard over the last few days are really front-footed, interesting, innovative ways for us to consider satellite technology and imaging and some of this geospatial so that we can both monitor and measure the water situation today, but then also manage it to ensure we have a better water secure future for tomorrow.
So, Andrea, Coca-Cola has also adopted technology to operate smarter. How are digital water tools helping you build more supply chains resiliency and climate resiliency as volatility continues to grow?
Yeah, scalability is crucial. Although we know that the solutions are very local, I think we have learned that we can adopt, we can scale some solutions. And in this case, the technology is really helping. But what I love about the solutions that we are experimenting is it's a combination of technology, a lot of AI, of course, but also combined with the local ancestral knowledge, which is amazing. So I think balancing both, it's really what makes this so special. Another example, besides the Nilus that I already mentioned before, we have another climate tech that we are partnering with in many countries across the Latin America, in Argentina, Chile, Mexico, now coming to Brazil, is Quilimo, which is an agri-tech. They combine technology to capture data and provide with those data, they can predict the amount of water the agricultures will need, and they can save water in the agriculture. We know that the agriculture is one of the sectors that use the water the most. So being efficient in agriculture is really a big gain. But they also combine with the knowledge from the agricultors, from the local farmers that already have a lot of knowledge. So that combination, it's really very powerful. And we can also, another thing that we did, we created a community. We created the concept of aliados, allies. which was like a community, a virtual community, where we connected more than 100 organizations that we work across the Latin America. And we, just by putting together this community, we start seeing a lot of exchange in terms of benchmarks, learning, and we start seeing, for instance, people from organization in the Northeast in the Brazil, CISAR, learning from organization Natura in Bolivia that also can learn from Quilimo. So this is really amazing to see how this kind of community can generate a lot of learnings and also help us to scale, adapt to the local context, but scale that solution that happens in one place to other. We are doing that in Latin America.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to some shared reflections for both of you. I mean, these guys write a lot, really. You are both companies in water-intensive industries, but where stewardship is leading. What cultural or strategic changes inside your organizations enable that transformations? And what advice would you share with others who are yet to stop considering water as a compliance issue and start seeing it as a resilience strategy?
Yeah, that's so. I would say, from our perspective, first and foremost, water is not a compliance issue. Certainly not for us. We are in so many communities. We must be a member of the community, and when utilizing water from that community, we want to be operating in a kind, friendly manner. And also, I'd say water is not just an environmental conversation. We're here today at COP, of course, we're talking about climate, which tends to think a lot more about the green environment, but actually it's so much more people, community, and social aspects at stake when it comes to water, and not just through replenishment, where we've been supporting over 4,000 people in Fortaleza, but also from things like WASH and giving people access to sanitary, to hygiene, and we've been supporting about 3,500 people also in the Fortaleza area, but around the world, again, in Kenya, in Africa, in India, as well as Mexico. So there's this environmental aspect where obviously we want to reduce the amount of water and the damage that we might be creating and try to restore and rebuild, but also to be thinking about that social aspect that brings a lot of support to those local communities where we operate.
Yeah, and I would say almost the same. I think the cultural change that we start doing inside the Coca-Cola, it's treat water, it's a business thing. But it's a business thing that there's a social aspect, a community aspect, and a nature aspect. So there's no one in the planet that will not like to work with a theme that touches on these three aspects. So it's, of course, essential to the business for a beverage company, no doubt, but essential to communities, essential to the nature. So working well, having a very well-defined strategy, as well as you do to our business. We have very good business strategy, so we need to have a business water strategy, a water strategy. And this is being discussed within our meetings, our business discussions, but always with these three aspects. I think it's really important, and that was the turning point that we did to make the water a very critical theme and really scaling the projects and having investments and time to debate.
Okay, thank you. This conference actually is taking place at the same time we have the COP30, which is climate change. But there is another COP, which is desertification. I mean, if we were here in the middle of the certification conference, would your answer change? Because we are talking about countries with arid climates or semi-arid regions where they have water, and each time, according to climate projections, water will be a problem in the future. What do you say? A short comment. We'll still have 8 minutes.
Well, again, so much of what we're focusing on is in water-stressed areas. So the desertification COPs are very focused on how do we manage that. And so I think we would probably still have the similar answer, that we still want to think about how we address our water usage and replenishing water in the areas where it is most water-stressed. But in addition, by the way, there's also a nature COP. Right, so we have the biodiversity COP as well, and they all have threads that connect them. And again, for us to think about the water replenishment activities, we'll always be looking at nature-based solutions. So it's fascinating to think about some of the learnings from last year's a biodiversity COP and how we can implement that into a climate COP and the conversations today.
Absolutely, I would say the same. And maybe a final reflection is water is something that is across sector. We are here in the beverage sector, of course, but I think it's important for any other sector, for the government, for the organizations and the academia. So it's really something, the collective action, which is, I think, the mutirão word everyone has heard about the mutirão, the word that our president of COP is really, it's a call to action on the collective action. I think water is really the best space to put a mutirão in place, so it's an invitation that everyone that operates in the same watershed needs to really work together, government, industries, organizations, academia, to make sure that we are really protecting this important value.
If I can just build on the collective action, sorry, because I just love that point so much. And again, I know we're hearing it a lot, but that's fantastic because a few years ago, it wasn't a word that, or a phrase that was used very commonly. And yet we're learning more and more. This is that COP for action. And you're talking about collective action because we know that the only way to scale is through partnerships. There's no way that Diageo alone can solve the water crisis. There's no way that Coke can solve it, but collectively together with us, the two companies here, other companies, government, both at the federal, the local level, and then NGOs and others, that's how we start to drive scale because we can make the investments in a number of different places, combine those watersheds, and together we'll see impact.
Okay. With that, I think time's going fast. We finished our panel on time. Thank you very much for your views. Actually, I personally learn a lot. I'm a scientist working in academics, but it's nice to work with the other side who uses our results, I would say. Thank you very much, and thank you all. And thank you to the World Climate Foundation for organizing this panel and inviting us.